About myself?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just a normal Belgian, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, so about myself. I've been working for 25 years in movie making, film business as a cameraman. At a certain moment, I'm also living on a boat here, on a houseboat. And after 15 years of living here, of course I encountered this little bar, and I was interested in saving it because it was kind of going bankrupt. And so it would have been a bad thing if this bar would have gone bankrupt. So I said, okay, I want to try with some friends to try to save it, and we can, you know, still do our jobs if we were 3 people. But then after 1 month, I didn't like the other people anymore. I mean, they were not really fine people to do business with. So I said, okay, I'm gonna buy you out, and I'm gonna do it on my own. Which then I realized that I was doing it on my own, and it was actually a lot of work. But okay, so I was very stubborn, and I said I'm gonna continue, because I said to all my, let's say, entourage, my friends, I said I'm gonna continue this bar. So that's what happened. I just went on with it, and it was very, very hard in that sense that it was not possible anymore, or after a while not possible anymore, to combine it with my filming jobs and missions. Although the last, I mean, it's not so long ago that I still shot some big things. And the bar is pretty old. It's a very known bar here. It's like from 1750. The houses are built in 1750. It's all next to a lock. A lock is a kind of a water lock where boats go in, and then just they level up with the water, and then they go on the higher level of the part of the river. And so this is a canal going to Leuven, which is a known city in Belgium. It's a big, one of the oldest universities in the world is situated there. But it's a bit higher. I mean, it would be like at the height of that tree there behind me. And as the water cannot go up, the boats have to be going up with the system of locks, which is kind of unique in Belgium. And since history, this has been a kind of a trading place, because the boats from this point on went on the rivers with the tides. So the whole houses here that have been built in 1750 have a very pretty historical sense, and everybody in the neighborhood now society evolves, and we get more and more houses and less space. A lot of people are coming here because they really feel like it's a little holiday resort. It's as if you were abroad. Like we all here in Belgium, we have a saying. It looks like the little hot France. You're on a holiday in France somewhere. And this is really a spot where you get this feeling.
We were talking about your motorcycle journeys and your travel stories. I was really intrigued by that. So throw some light on that, about how your journey has been for the past how many years it's been.
Well, peculiar or nice that you asked this, because lately I just bought this map. You know, it's this scratch away map where you can scratch away where you've been on Earth. And as far as I recall, yeah, I would say I was or still am, but now I'm a bit occupied, but a big traveler and always liked to travel. But now I was scratching this map. It's like, oh no, there's still so much to cover. I've been nowhere. It's terrible. And so you have this in your mind that you have been traveling and traveling. If you compare yourself to maybe other people. Okay, this was one side of it was, of course, professionally, because in cinema you get to travel a lot. And when I always did ask the producer if I could stay like a couple of weeks longer, as the plane ticket was paid anyway. So I did a whole trip from the sites where we were. Secondly, yeah, you know, I've been traveling a lot when I was younger. I mean, I'm still young, but when I was in my younger ages, I was traveling with motorcycle a lot. Like, remember the first time I was in Greece, I showed my. This is what you want to hear. I showed my my public transport. You know, you'll get the yearly public transport pass. And I showed it to the Greek guy renting the motorcycles, and he said, like, oh yeah, what is this? He said, it's a European driving license, which was in those days not even present, but okay. And he said, oh, okay. And I was 17, so I didn't have a driving license at all. And yeah, he rented me out a bike, probably because we all also rented 25 other bikes at his shop that day. But okay, the 25th was kind of illegal, and he rented it out to me. So that's how I started traveling with motorcycles. And so I did like a lot of Greek islands, the Canary Islands, traveled from Panama to Nicaragua when I was living in Central America for a while.
We spoke about the bar, we spoke about you, your travel stories. I want to hear something about the boat that you live in. How did that happen?
Well, actually, I was living in Costa Rica at a certain moment where I fell in love with a girl. This was after also a big shoot in California, and I kind of wanted to get away of LA, which was a plastic city, and I took an airplane to Costa Rica, where I met this girl that I was going to have to meet. She was a friend of another girl where I was shooting a movie in Norway, and she told me I was living in Costa Rica, and I said, I'm coming to visit you, and she said, nobody ever will and does. So a year later I'm in LA, and I say, you know what, I'm going to surprise this girl in Costa Rica. So I went there, stayed there, fell in love, and stayed there for 4 years. It was great, it was a wonderful time, but there was something strange. I was living with somebody who had it made, because she was living in a giant beautiful house and all that stuff. And I felt, maybe it's very sexist, but as a man, I felt like, what is this? I'm living in the property of my wife. And I had this urge of owning something also at a certain moment. And it was not certain if I would stay there, yes or no, if she would come with me to Belgium, yes or no. So anyway, I had this thing of, I wanted to have something in Belgium also, my house, my little, cradle. So I felt like with all this traveling around, I still felt like having a home, and then it's kind of a mix of like being able to travel and still have your home, which is really nice because, for me, if I go with my house from Brussels to Antwerp, which is only 50 kilometers from each other, but yes, it takes me a whole day to get there with my boat, like 8 or 9 hours navigating through locks and bridges that open and whatever, waiting times and whatever, and then people go like, what, 8 hours? You go like, yeah, but it's with my whole house. So if you would do the same, load up all these trucks and move your house, you probably also need a day or 2 days to move, and then you have to unpack everything. I don't even have to shut down my computer. I can just go with my house from one city to the other. That was a real nice thing. So I basically followed the movie sets I was working on, which was sometimes very funny because mostly of the time all the production parties were on my boat. And then the producer bought all the wine, and then of course I was left with all the leftovers from the wine, so I had wine for the rest of the year. Nice. So, some advantages.
The interesting story about the boat.
Yeah, it's quite funny because there is a guy who once was on a party on my boat. I kind of like throwing parties, so there was another party, and then a couple of days later, this guy calls me. He says, I'm going to send you a picture. This is amazing. You have to look at this picture. And it was a black and white picture made in '72 by a kind of famous German photographer, or famous in Germany, Eveline Richter. She was an old, or still is an old, pretty old photographer. She's like nearly 90, but she lived in Eastern Europe. And when East and West Germany were separated, she lived in the east part, and she could take a lot of pictures of the life in East Germany, which we didn't know. We were blocked from it, as they blocked us. So, but afterwards, they kind of figure out that this Eveline Richter took so many pictures of that East Germany that we could really see how life was over there, and she was allowed to keep on photographing because the Stasi, the secret police in those days, didn't realize that her photographs were so symbolic. They were like, maybe too stupid, or they didn't see it or whatever, but she was really giving a lot of social critique on the system they were living in. And so, coming back to the story, this guy comes with a picture of my boat from this Eveline Richter, made in '72 in East Germany, and it was a famous picture because my boat is called Traumland, which means dreamland. And you just see a boat through East Germany, through Berlin, and there's two people looking at it with a melancholy, like they also would like to go there, namely to the west. to the Traumland, to the dreamland. So later on, this picture was a huge symbol for her photography and her work, and it's now in a museum in Leipzig. And so there's my boat on it. And so what we found so interesting that we went to look up this photographer in Leipzig, or my girlfriend, when she's also an artist, and she did an interview with her for about a couple of hours. And the photographer, Evelyn Richter, 92 years old or 90, whatever, agreed that she would come to Berlin. If we would come to Berlin with our boat again, which is like 900 kilometers of navigating, but whatever, if we would go there, she would take the picture again on the same spot. And the boat really, it's like a beautiful picture. It's a boat in the mist, and very nice.